Working in food service is generally pretty terrible, but it's even worse when you have to cater to certain kinds of people. For example, very wealthy people, generally. At least this is according to a story by one server in the UK by the name of Lily. Apparently, she recently dealt with a group of wealthy patrons, and it was a pretty terrible experience. So now, look, I've talked about this in the context of the United States, where servers are consistently treated like trash, garbage. They've been disrespected by rude customers, and even during the pandemic, assaulted for asking for people to just simply put on a mask. And I've talked to a lot of them personally, and again, this is anecdotal, but I have talked to a lot of them who have told me the same kinds of stories. And this is all while getting paid what is essentially peanuts. Not enough. Now, this story actually has a decent ending, and that's why it stands out. But first, let me give you the details. So now, there's a restaurant owner in Cardiff who apparently was on Gordon Ramsay's show, got his leg crushed by a lorry, or whatever that is. So, I mean, that's a pretty serious story. So this guy is already fairly well known as a chef. Now, his name is Lee Skeet, and he owns this restaurant that seems to be very elite, right? Very small, I think houses, what, 12 people at once, at most, I should say. So now, one of his servers, Lily, was mistreated, so he decided to write an email. Dear XXX, whoever those people are, I wanted to firstly thank you for choosing my restaurant for your meal tonight. I understand you had the biggest bill we've ever had on one table here. Unfortunately, throughout the evening, I was made aware that your party's behavior was inappropriate towards Lily, who runs front of house. She has told me that as a 22-year-old girl, she was talked down to, disrespected, and touched unwantedly by members of your group. I have spent the last hour having conversations with her that break my heart, make me feel like a shit employer, and a terrible dad, having my own daughter. Please provide your bank details, and I will refund your entire bill of £1,000 minus £100 that I believe you should have tipped Lily, which I will pay directly to her, as you left no tip. That's equivalent to about $1,200. So look, they spend $1,200, and they didn't even tip. Terrible human beings. And then he added, I would thank you to never come back to my restaurant. Lily means a lot more to me than money. I also think you should assess the people you surround yourself with. So look, my first reaction is, why would you give him back the money? Well, that seems stupid. I mean, again, sticking up for your employer, well, that's nice. That's a good thing, right? It's incredibly rare. That's why, you know, the story stands out. But not only that, but the fact that generally employers don't tend to speak up for their employees, well, that usually makes it so that there are a lot of entitled assholes out there in the first place. Management will always choose the money. Oh, they don't tip in the UK. Generally? Now, maybe they do in that restaurant. But now, there are people, by the way, getting back to the workers here and how they're treated. Remember, there are people out there who believe that servers aren't just employees that bring you your food, but they tend to think of them as like slaves. Maybe it's the whole thing that was drilled into people's heads. You know, the customer's always right, the customer's always right, the customer's always right. And if you think, well, I'm always right, and if I'm always right, then I can treat people any way that I want to. And I've noticed that when it comes to a lot of wealthy people or people who think that they're wealthy, upper middle class, those tend to actively look down on people working low-wage jobs. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's a significant amount of people that do. They have the thoughts that, hey, look, we're obviously better than you because we have more money than you. And we have a better job. And that you working your job, well, you deserve to be in poverty. In fact, anybody working that job deserves to be in poverty. And I think that's the wrong approach, obviously. Being wealthy does not make you better. You know what makes you better? If you actually treat people good. That makes you a better person. That determines whether you're a good person or not. And so these guys have obviously shown that they're not good people. So that was my first thought. Oh, you're going to return the money and then you're going to ban them and that's going to make a statement. Okay, that's fine. Great. But that also means that they just got a free meal, which is not great. Again, they're rich. It probably doesn't even matter. If you're out there, you're going to spend $1,200 on a meal. Money doesn't really matter to you. Sure. Now, this is where it gets good. Skeet then turned around and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give you your money back. No. In fact, here's what he wrote. On reflection, I reacted too quickly and emotionally last night. Sorry, I was a little bit angry and protective. I'm not going to refund the customer's money. I've instead kept it and transferred it to Lily X. Now that's good. You've got a ban, and all that money from them went to her. Good. I like it. I like it. Now look, this sends a message, hey, don't mess with my employee. Because guess what? You're going to be banned, and we're just going to give all the money that you should have given to her. And not only that, in tip or gratuity compensation, but yeah, all that money is going to go to her. Because you guys decided to be a jackass. Hey, you love to see it, right? Look, attitudes about working people, they need to change. Nobody who works should be living in poverty. That's number one. And secondly, just because somebody's doing a service for you, that doesn't entitle you to treat them like trash, like garbage human beings. They are people, and they are deserving of basic respect and dignity. And if you can't manage just that little bit, then stay home and make your own goddamn food.